Hello, hello, our dear astrology friend, C and Ultra, the Freedom Astrologer, once again here with my good friend Donny. And you guys asked for it.
Yeah.
We're here to deliver it. This is our kind of Venus retrograde 2021, 2022 analysis. And yes, guys, you really mentioned it in the comments. We're going to do sign predictions as well. So we're going to do an overall overview of what this retrograde period kind of means. And then we're going to go into each sign specifically and what to kind of look out for, what's coming your way, and maybe some tips and pointers what to do as well during this I would say an intense period, but to each its own judgment. Donny, how are you doing?
That's probably the only sound I can make over this eclipse while we're taking this. I'm not even saying any words because I'll just, because, well, honestly, my moon just got eclipsed by the lunar eclipse, and the upcoming one, my sun will be also put in, so both luminaries. So I'm just kind of rewinding back 19 years ago because the same eclipses actually occurred in around this time in 2002. So I'm bringing myself back to that time to see what were the themes going on. And maybe like it may repeat itself. Thank God so far so good, although I've been feeling not so high energy. But you guys asked for this video. So
yeah. I mean with the eclipse, it's kind of, for me, it's very similar, bit low energy, but I want to share a very quick personal story with the eclipse as well, because we talked about the eclipses a lot in our previous videos, in our November videos. And we talked a little bit about, it might be a good idea to go deeper within and maybe do some spiritual work and maybe release some stuff that's been stuck for a while. And I personally, I just wanted to share this story because I kind of wanted to show you guys that when I at least, share something, I usually walk my talk as well. So I really went into, I literally booked a very, very deep session, energy healing therapy session for myself during the actual eclipse. So I purge a lot of stuff from my own consciousness, from my own kind of deeper place. So I hope you guys did that as well. If not, there will be plenty of chances during 2022 to do that as well.
Partly this Venus retrograde will provide that opportunity altogether as well.
No.
Yeah. So do you want to start by saying anything for anyone out there who's got a natal Venus that's retrograde in Capricorn itself?
I mean, I want to share a couple of things here, specifically with I will leave that part a little bit to you. I want to say a little bit on what I've observed with, let's say, aspects as well with Venus retrograde. I really want to point your attention, guys, to your whatever personal aspects your Venus has in your natal chart. These are the aspects that are going to be, let's say, playing out or triggered by this retrograde, or whenever a Venus retrograde happens, or for that matter, whenever a retrograde or a planet goes retrograde, those aspects are going to be playing out, even if the retrograde is happening somewhere else, some other house. Still, those aspects are going to come to the surface. They're going to play in your life. So check those out for you very personally, specifically those who can do that, and you will know some of the themes more so coming to play as well. Yeah, I wanted to say that kind of.
Right. So let me start with someone who's born with a natal Venus retrograde in Capricorn, because I find that for those people in general, love and marriage, which is represented by Venus, can be quite an affair to begin with. This is simply because they feel too much obligations to their partner. But however, their partner might not take it so. And there's always this thing about wanting a partner to succeed with Venus in Capricorn as well. And they will select their partners accordingly. Probably that's one of their criteria for choosing a partner. They need to be successful and out in the world be, when you have me as your arm candy, we gotta be the successful power couple. For example, this could be one of the manifestation, or someone who has got daddy or mommy issues as well.
Someone who has some status in the world.
Yes, that can be like a chronological age separation, or you may just simply attract someone who's around your age, but psychologically they're just probably more mature or beyond their years as well. And for someone who's got Venus retrograde in Capricorn natally, they also like to manage their relationship as per their will, but this might actually, in a certain way, get in the way of their relationships with the partner, as they tend to want to manage, because Capricorn is a managing sign. And last but not least, I think that Venus in Capricorn, they're also very committed towards professional development. And so that those times that they prefer to engage with the world out there, Capricorn, to accomplish and achieve things, it might also matter with their personal love life too. They may also settle down a bit later as well. That's what I found. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think the managing thing is quite important. Really, that practical assessing of the partner, the relationship. I've seen.
It's almost like they need more coaxing to open up.
Definitely, I think that's really like the opening up takes longer, and there's kind of like this almost, I would say, like a shell over that opening up, which is all about that material, practical stuff, status, be my kind of co-achiever, we could say that. And I think, at least some of that needs to be let go as well. But, you need to own it as well, that you need somebody who can provide these things and be there for you in these matters. So it's important to own that. But I think when it gets difficult or in a relationship, that the dynamic where it gets difficult is when you really start to kind of organize and manage that other person constantly, or a business partner as well. It doesn't really, not everybody is a baby, and most people are grown up, so they can usually manage and organize themselves.
Baby as and well. Parent, because Capricorn is one of the signs of the parent as well. Yeah.
Oh yes.
So one can be the parent to another, kind of.
Definitely, one can be the older and the younger, and there's that dynamic there as well.
And when Venus is in retrograde motion in your natal chart, all those that we just discussed, me and Ian, will become more pronounced because Venus is closer to Earth as well, as compared when she's in direct motion. So I've actually written down some Venus retrograde in Capricorn celebrities. Just to name a few, like Seth Green, the model Amber Valletta. If you're around our age, you probably know who she is. Elizabeth Banks, Christian Bale, the actor.
Oh, nice. I like him.
Kimberly Wyatt from the Pussycat Dolls. That means non-Nicole Scherzinger, one of those behind her. Sean Kingston as well. The singer, the one who sang Beautiful Girls. I think that's his most famous song, just to name a few. And why not we jump into the main meat of it all? With this
right now, I can't remember if you mentioned the commitment part, because this is the really one of the, like, let's say, positive manifestations of Venus in Capricorn. They are, if they finally commit to somebody, the commitment there is kind of, it's almost like they don't break the vow or agreement that is there, be it the business, because in business there's contracts, and agreements and vows, so they don't break those. So I think in that regard, I think, you know, in Vedic astrology, it's more or like a positive, I would say, position.
Well, I think
Maybe
not in mythology, Aphrodite is one of the few that can melt Cronus's heart. So.
Nice. I just want to say, because very often, you know, in modern kind of Western astrology, because the Venus in Capricorn gets undeservedly at times gets a bit of a bad rap, I would say. That's why I wanted to mention like the deeper commitment side of things.
And probably when she's natally retrograde in your natal chart, if you have that actually may take you longer. But I've actually seen some cases where Venus retrograde natally in Capricorn, there's a possibility for them to meet their life partner very early on in life as well. Yeah.
And stay there for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and that is like, I'm like the story of like, I married my high school sweetheart. Or if not, like some can be like, I met this person in kindergarten and now like years later we are married. You know what I mean? Like stories like that do happen. And I find that more in the sign of Capricorn, where Venus is and when she's retrograde as well. So yeah, that as well.
Nice.
So Venus retrograde in Capricorn, 2021 to 2022. Venus actually retrograde every 18 to 19 months on average, just to put it out there. But then for the sign, for Venus to come back and retrograde in the same sign, it actually takes 8 years. So look back to December 2013 to January 2014. That's the last time when Venus was retrograde in Capricorn. And it may actually provide you some clues of how this upcoming retrograde period can affect you as well. And just to put another nugget of information, when we talk about Venus retrograde, every time she retrogrades every 8 years, it's not the same degrees that's repeated at each in each retrograde period. It's only the last cycle in 2013 to 2014 when she retrogrades fully in the sign of Capricorn. The 8 years even before that, that means 2005 to 2006, she actually stationed direct right at the beginning of Aquarius. So the energy feels a bit different. Yeah. But if you want an apple-to-apple comparison of how Venus retrograde in Capricorn itself applies to you, just look back 8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is Venus to you?
Oh yes, I kind of like dissected it. I like to dissect. I like to dissect things, and I dissected this into basically, let's start with what it's all about. Every time it's all about relationship. We can't really go without talking about relationship, partnership, business partnerships. These are going to be at the forefront for all, depending on where in your house. I don't even basically care where it's in your house going retrograde. The relationship theme is going to be one of the biggest themes here of all. Second, money. Let's be really honest. Money is going to be at the forefront. But for me, I always, when we're talking about Venus, the last, say, dissection where I put it is always our worth. And it's, I think, because, we live in such a material, practical world. Of course, money, relationship, partnerships, these are all important. But in my view, this is a really big time. Every Venus retrograde for me is a really big time, especially if your Venus ruled, let's put it that way, if your ascendant is sun, moon is Venus ruled. If you're Venus ruled, then especially it applies for everyone to go really deep into yourself as well, and to see and start understanding where and what you are actually worth. And if there are blockages, if there are things kind of stopping you from seeing your worth, and especially in this kind of Capricorn suppression kind of energy, then it's a really good time to reassess what we are worth on the marketplace as from a practical point of view, but
Marketplace is
also
Capricorn. So
market, but also from a, like an internal perspective, like my inner worth, and my inner worth or our inner worth, it's not always, you can't always put dollars and cents on it. But when you work on that inner worth and start to see, okay, I'm doing this really good, and I'm actually worth much more as a human being, then actually these practical, material, tangible things, possessions, Venus, can come your way. You can be more certain to ask for more money for your services, for your business, for your products, or in business deals, etc., etc. So I think this period is always a good time to reassess relationships, partnerships, contracts, inner worth, money. These are, my kind of main things that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, Venus technically goes retrograde for 40 days and 40 nights, starting from December 19 to January 29. We'll probably feel this 40 days the most strongly when she is exactly in retrograde motion. But then we can't discount the shadow periods.
Oh, yes.
So you've got one time, then she goes retrograde, and then the third time. So if I were to take into account the whole exact period where Venus moves from 11 to 26 of Capricorn this time, it starts from 17th of November of 2021 all the way to 1st of March of 2022. So you've got all this chunk of time when Venus is moving back and forth in this 15 degrees of Capricorn zodiacally to actually rework a lot of Venusian things. And even on a bigger picture, if I were to even count in when Venus enters Capricorn and how long she actually stays there in Capricorn, 4 whole months of it.
Yeah.
And the length of duration of Venus staying in a sign where she retrogrades in total, which is 4 months, is also roughly the period where Jupiter is in retrograde motion. So that's a nugget of astronomical knowledge for you guys. And because Venus does rule matters of the heart, just to piggyback off what Ian actually said, it's a feminine in energy, but when she's retrograde, I would say that emotional and financial issues, particularly in relationships, can kind of spew up like a volcano as well for some, which can be a chance to rework or even transform. Why I say transform is because Venus will actually meet up with Pluto 3 times over this period. Venus also rules matters of the heart, but this time it's in Capricorn where she retrogrades. Because when I think about Capricorn, it's about boundaries, and sometimes Venus retrograde can be some old flame coming back.
Definitely.
So you may want to be on guard for any exes who try to waltz back into the picture, into your heart.
I really want to say something about this really quickly because it's funny, and it's sometimes it's literally. I've had many experiences with this. Literally, one experience was a person. Every day I walked to my then job on my specific route, and never did I see that person there. And when Venus went into retrograde, like I think it was the first or second day, she went, oh, just the person I kind of broke up from maybe a month before that. So these kind of literal things can happen. Or the second part is you might be thinking, kind of rehashing, oh, I did this wrong. I did think, oh, maybe I should have said that, and then you can take the phone and start texting, and those things really start happening. So you can be the one rehashing, or they can actually come to your doorstep.
I've actually got a girlfriend or female friend who actually told me this story that that happened to her like just 2 days ago. I think there was a exact Venus Uranus trine, and Venus is already in shadow, and she bumped into her ex on Tinder. That's one of the
that's exactly what's literal. That's a very literal.
Like swiping is like, oh, there's my ex swipe.
And you better swipe left. I guess it's. I mean, it is a chance for you to kind of reassess if you really think you made a mistake there, and you both feel like it's a time to reassess. It's no, we're laughing and we're making jokes, but it is a time to kind of reassess if you need to reassess those relationships as well. So it is so take that time if you need it.
Well, but also that while this Venus retrograde is going on, is like touching Pluto 3 times in total. So any power struggles in existing relationships might be flagged out as well. And issues within your career, Capricorn, may also be flagged out. Maybe there's relational issues with you and your boss or manager that can be flagged out over this Venus retrograde. So, and Capricorn is also about setting boundaries. So you may want to relook at where have you kind of slipped up in terms of defining your own personal and professional boundaries in your life.
Just from a kind of practical way, are we doing the conjunctions as well?
Not yet. We'll go to that in a minute. Okay. Yeah, okay. This is more like
I want to say so much about it. I guess even more.
We'll just put it light in the moment. We'll go into the heavier stuff later.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Oh, but anyways, this also brings me to my next point. Make sure you're setting plenty of time for yourself for self-care, because Capricorn energy doesn't always know when to take a break. So for the same reason, you might end up feeling drained in your relationships more over this retrograde period. Just a lot of things that you may have overlooked or not defined well, Capricorn, might be flagged out or flagged up for you to take a step back. And you might be feeling more tired than usual. Hence, you need to take more time to recharge your batteries.
Especially if you're Venus ruled, like especially ascendant, I would say if ascendant is in Libra or Taurus, the kind of let's say lower energy might be there. You need to rest more, reassess, rehash a little bit more than others, but yeah. Or Venus in the first house.
Oh yes. And Venus in Capricorn, when she goes retrograde, also highlights themes of like old-fashioned courtship, courtesies, traditional romance, and family values. But however, when Venus actually goes retrograde in Capricorn, in this case, I will also say that the less sanitized or like the underbelly of stuff is revealed. So maybe someone who is in front of you, like, seems whiter than white or very prim and proper, they show that side to you. But when Venus goes retrograde, you may find that they have been behaving with disgrace behind the scenes. And this might actually kind of break that bubble or break that impression of you towards that person as well. And Venus retrograde in Capricorn may also expose weaknesses, where the relationship has become kind of dusty, because dust is ruled by Capricorn, stale, boring, or uninteresting to either one or both partners. And I think that this recent Venus trine Uranus, because Venus will come back to trine Uranus 2 more times as well in the process. So maybe it's there's something new to be introduced in this case.
A couple of things came to mind.
I know you have.
Almost relationships during Venus and Capricorn, especially during retrograde. Now we're adding retrograde, can seem like work. Literally, just like the almost like the fun and pleasure is sucked out of it, and you kind of.
It reminds me of that Juno energy, like after the after the whole like, rose-colored glasses, all the romance stuff has gone, and now you have to do all the committed part and
now
the
it's about
practical part. Just
now
reminds me
it's
of
about work. Yeah, it's literally like from a personal perspective. Also, the things you enjoy might not be almost enjoyable even, and there's like the taste of like
bitterness.
I even should yeah, barren lands, or I shouldn't be maybe even doing
Also brings
this.
along
Also
resentment
Capricorn
as well. Resentment.
Mm.
Kind of, because it's a Saturn root sign, and it can bring that bitter resentment, like
Yeah. I forgot to say about shadow. A lot of shadow periods. Shadow periods are very often these periods, and especially now with the Venus, it's about a relationship, money, inner worth. Shadow periods are the ones where you kind of start to see hints of what is coming up. Stuff coming up, and then when it starts to go station and then turns retrograde, these are usually times when somebody comes, some message comes, some money stuff comes, some sort of thing comes, and now you need to start reassessing it during the retrograde. Results come in the next shadow period during when we're coming out of the retrograde.
Yes, and I also want to bring up a note that Venus retrograde, it doesn't mean that she will destroy. She simply actually illuminates. So if your relationship does need work in this regard to derut or de-stagnate, this whole period, 4-month period, I would say, when Venus is staying for a longer time than usual in Capricorn, is your chance to fix things, or at least try to reorganize things, to make it, to refresh it. Yeah.
Don't shy away from working on your relationship or money stuff or worth stuff even. It's needed.
And you know what? Something just came to my mind, because when Venus retrogrades in materialistic Capricorn, because it is an earth sign after all.
Oh yeah.
We may be reminded that money isn't everything. But most commonly, I would say that this occurs via a period of financial shock or loss, if it happens down that route. And because Capricorn is also the sign of austerity, it's about learning to manage with less. So maybe a lot of us will be doing budgeting, for example.
I would say so. And being like stingy, a little bit stingier with like giving out money. Like I don't know if I want to do, this kind of more stingier with your purse there.
Well, I suppose a nicer way to say it is like, how do you get to the essence of Venus? Because Venus rules essences, with less material things clouding over it.
Minimalism is one thing.
Minimalism,
minimalism, like living a minimalistic lifestyle.
Yeah, because Capricorn is also about material ambitions. And when she goes retrograde in that sign, how do I tap into Venus's energy without those outer material validations,
Nice.
and the accompanying goals that come along with that. But it also talks about that rethinking of your work-life balance as well.
Nice one.
That may be one of the theme that may come up. But at its best, I would say this retrograde period allows us to stand back and reflect on both love and money in many ways. Brand new relationships that may find that Venus retrograde marks the end of the honeymoon period. That's what we mentioned earlier. And that allows a deeper love to develop. It's like the Juno energy I was mentioning earlier. But in established relationships, ensure that the power between both partners are distributed fairly, and focus on the reawakening of the spark that drew you together in the first place. So never forget that. Because Capricorn also rules time.
Very nicely put. I want to kind of put one piece on it. It's a really testing time as well for relationship, because Capricorn and Saturn is tests. So if Venus is spending so much in Capricorn and it's come back and forth, and then it is a certain kind of tests will be thrown your way into that relationship, being the business or partnership, and you need to work through them. You need to put effort in them to kind of go through them together and build that foundation, Capricorn, of your relationship even more stronger and strengthened.
Yeah, so I would say that this Venus retrograde is like, it consists of major rebalancing, major reharmonization. But since Venus does kiss Pluto 3 times, there's also major transformation that comes along with it. Yeah, but transformation can go either way. We'll be reviewing a lot, reflecting a lot, reassessing a lot. Anything that's Venusian themes, relationships, finances, business opportunities. And when we say partners, me and Ian, we not only talk about personal relationship, but it's also referring to business partners as well. Yeah, in this case. Because
I want to say one thing, I think, because, you know, a lot of ways, in a traditional way, you know, Venus rules the 7th house. So it's 7th house is a lot about, or the main topic always brought up with the 7th house is marriage or a partnership, you know. But the 7th house for me, every time something is happening in the 7th house, it's the relationships I'm having with people, be it business, be it a friend. I know friends are in 11th house, but it's still the relationship house. So all sorts of relationships are actually represented by Venus. It's not only kind of, you know, marriage or business. It's every kind of relationship you're in this life.
Well, I mean, 7th house, I mean, if I were to go back to astrological definition, it only refers to others. 7th house is others, but 7th house can also be marriage and socialization as well. Yeah. How we appear out in the public. Like, because 7th house, how I would imagine is when you step out of the house to engage with the world out there. And there's that moment, you know,
very public house
actually happens. Yeah. And I would say in the broader spectrum is mutual commitments. That's why it's not only referring to personal, but also business related. And sometimes it can be like to deal with legal issues as well, 7th house. Or what we project onto others, also 7th house as well. So anything more you want to discuss regarding the overall themes, like?
Oh, one thing I almost forgot. Right. So if you're in a position of, let's say, thinking about purchasing a material possession, jewelry, for example, but it does, I would say, a lot of vintage material possessions.
Capricorn.
Of course, antiques, you know, these things come into play. But like, if we're talking about Venus in general, it's a lot about our material possessions. Now, these can take many forms, but it's important to understand that if it's been something that you've been kind of reassessing for a long time, you've been researching, you've been wanting it for a long time, then the retrogrades actually offer you like an opportunity to get it cheaper, and it can be good. But only in that case that I've seen this. If it's something entirely new, and this is important, guys, I've stepped into this blunder myself, so I'm going to do it, going to give it to you. If it's something entirely new that's coming to your consciousness, maybe you see an ad, maybe you see a oh, I want it now, then I would actually wait until the retrograde starts to subside, and we get to the after shadow period. And I would research about these things to see if they're really valuable and as valuable as they're kind of presented, and do we even need them. Then you can do the kind of get the better quality and better price thing usually during the shadow period that kind of comes after the retrograde. So this is one, I think, to save kind of your money as well. You know, Capricorn, all about saving.
Yeah, I think it's also, since we talk about Venus being linked to money, it's also a good time to review your finances in this case. So review your finances and business plans as well over Venus retrograde period. They may be very a productive time just to do that. Because when Venus is retrograde, particularly in Capricorn, this provides you a window where to check where you're at financially anyway. It may not be the best time to invest when Venus is actually in retrograde motion, because investments may actually lose value when Venus turns direct again in its final pass over the same shadow degrees. Probably the only possible exceptions to this may be like something that you've even wanted way before the Venus retrograde.
Exactly.
Yeah. If it just occurred to you that desire came in during the retrograde period, I would just hold it off a little bit. Something vintage might be nice to get over this period because it's Capricorn, you know. Oh, by the way, if you have a business as well, you may review your business structure and strategy over this period, which is very good. And you may also relocate, deal in real estate, start a new business or change plans in an existing business after the Venus retrograde. That means take this retrograde period to kind of think over such things, just sit on it for a bit, let it marinate in it for a bit.
I just want to show one thing quickly, because now, as you said, I remember I have a bit of a thing. I have a Saturn Venus thing in my chart, a pretty difficult one. So I like to collect beautiful rocks, or some sort of rocks.
I can see that.
I have a bunch of them, but I like, I'm not saying go crazy with it, but I do kind of like, when I personally even sit with them, it's like almost soothing me. I can feel calmer with these around. So something for you to kind of, to maybe help you out during this kind of like, how many months? It's like almost 3 months period. It's kind of like a long one.
What, for 3 months for
Venus retrograde? Was it 3, 4?
The retrograde itself only, or
40 days.
Or
and shadow.
You want to add the shadow?
I want to add shadow.
Shadow, if you add the shadow, means that you'll pass by the same degrees 3 times from 17 November 2021 all the way to 1st of March of next year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
That's a lot, guys.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention as well. For couples who are want to take their relationship to the next level, actually this Venus retrograde in Capricorn conjunct Pluto can make them take the commitment to start trying for a baby as well. Or to take your relationship to the next level seriously. It can also mean moving in together. For existingly married couples, they may even renew their vows as well. That's another possible manifestation. So it's not all like doom and gloom, by the way, just to mention.
Of course.
I think as we go through this emotional and physical transformation over this Venus retrograde period in Capricorn, we are just we just need to grow up more in Capricorn because that's when the sobering reality sinks in Capricorn. And if relationships are just not built on reality, then those will have to be somehow excreted from your life. Yeah.
It's getting serious about the relationships, guys, and partnerships. It's a time to do it.
One thing also stand out to me is about the theme of sharing your feelings over this Venus retrograde period. Because Venus in Capricorn is one that can be like anything that you have somehow neglected, Capricorn, something that you have just stuffed away, you rather not share with the world. So in other words, if you haven't been dealing with your own feelings, and this Venus retrograde comes along, say what you've been trying to stuff down your own body, although it may come up like a volcano, but but I would say that you will express how you need to express yourself over this Venus retrograde if you have been kind of stuffing some issues away. Because what happens is that when Venus goes retrograde, the stress within you, if you've been stuffing things away, if you've got planets in Capricorn that's being activated by Venus, the stress held down in your body can actually magnify because Venus is closer to the Earth. And if you just keep it bottled up, it can actually cause you ill health over this Venus retrograde period. So in order to shift your energy around, because Capricorn is like a downward pushing energy, just down, Earth signs have those kind of energy. And you may want to try movements such as dance or walking, writing a journal, do some breath work, to cry.
Always good. Always good.
Or talk to someone who's a trusted confidant. Yeah, because Capricorn is a very physical, earthly sign. So when you do these things, real physical things are likely to change as well. And this includes like your relationships with other people. And yeah, just build new structures in your life. Maybe even try out some new routines. They may actually help you.
This reminds me also, because Venus is also a lot to do with kind of eating food and pleasures, you know, wine. So there might be, less opportunities maybe during the retrograde. And with Capricorn, there might be, yourself not allowing as much, pleasures into your life, be it food or wine or something. So there can be like almost like a limitation from the outside as well, or not allowing you to do those things as much as you're maybe used to during the festive period,
Do you want to share your screen regarding the aspects that Venus will make? I have some dates, but yeah.
Let me take this one. Let me animate this one. Okay. Oh, I can't hum. I can't now remember. Now I remember, Donny. This is where I hum. This is where I hum. Okay. Oh, there we are. I think this is where we 20th, so we can go even back one day where it stations.
Right. Actually, can you go back to maybe 2 weeks before Christmas, maybe on the 13th or 14th? Yeah. So as you can see from this screen, like Venus and Pluto have already met for the first time just before she goes retrograde. And if you zip past 2 weeks later, Venus is still around there. So for roughly 2 whole weeks, Venus and Pluto actually conjunct. And this is like for the astro community celebrating Christmas. Yeah, it may be asking you to like, how do you show festive mood, Venus? How do you celebrate Venus with less? By changing habits,
Okay, are we? Let's take Pluto now with Venus or the conjunction. Let's talk about it more deeply.
Right, sure.
Because I think there's something to be said about this conjunction.
Oh yeah.
And I want to draw, guys. I know it's a little bit harder to see from the dignity table here on the screen, but the conjunctions are actually happening in the term of Saturn as well. By Ptolemy, and by Egyptian terms, they're actually in Mars term. So I want to say a couple of very quick things about terms. Terms for me are kind of like extra taste of what is actually happening with the aspects, and in this case the conjunction. So when you hear about a conjunction, when you hear about a trine, when you hear about a square, they all have different kinds of tastes. And for me, the term is what kind of determines. You can add face and triplicity a little bit there, but term is more stronger in my experience. It kind of adds the taste to that,
or how it actually is experienced.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And in this case, let's not go too much into doom and gloom, but if we're saying Mars and Saturn, it's not Jupiter. So there is a kind of an extra added layer of Martian and Saturnian energy added to anyway Saturnian, Capricorn, Pluto. So let's keep that in mind as well when we enter it, and let's not take it too much of a kind of like too much of a optimistic, conjunctions are always amazing. This one is going to be needs more work to have those Plutonian higher transformations in the relationships, to make those possible. Let's put it that way. Yeah, and Donny, I think, already mentioned at the beginning of the video about power struggles, jealousy issues. These are going to come into play, and again, I know I read the comments, and I do see people don't like doom and gloom. No, I'm doing my best to just give you the energy, what to look out for with Pluto, and where our consciousness as human beings right now is on this planet Earth. These issues, these power games, these jealousy things, these are going to come up anyway. So it's not doom and gloom. It's more like presenting what one side of the energy or one side of the coin is. But having said that, these power games, these jealousy issues, these power dynamics actually within partnerships, within relationships, these are here to kind of show you what's going on underneath. And also, because it's Pluto, remember, Pluto is things coming to light. And when it's happening so closely with Venus, things about relationships, and we're going to do signs separately later, and we're going to show you where these relationships are going to manifest more. But generally, relationship things that have been underneath, kind of hidden in relationships, issues that have been kind of suppressed in relationships, now come out to play with Pluto, because Pluto will make it uncomfortable. It will bring these things to light. So you might even find out things about a partner, about someone you're in a relationship with, something about your money finances coming to light as well. Important to remember. And in order to remember the term, again, I'm repeating myself on a very specific kind of way, because it adds that Saturnian Martian difficulty to those conjunctions happening.
You did mention that through Ptolemy, this essential dignities table on the top right is Saturn, right? By Egyptian term is Mars, is it?
Yep. Exactly.
But Mars and Saturn are actually in supportive aspect, it's a sextile. So, and they're both in idealistic signs, Sagittarius and Aquarius. And what this actually tells me is that, sure, this Venus and Pluto conjunction means that we may have to settle for less because probably money is tight everywhere, Capricorn, austerity. But then that Mars and Saturn sextiling in those signs, actually, it infers that we need to rebuild our belief system, Venus, or maybe even transform our belief systems, or value system, in this case, Venus, in order to look into the future. Because both Mars and Saturn are both in futuristic sign. Maybe there's new monetary systems coming out that's really like probably being implemented in some countries as a trial basis and all that. But then when I see Mars and Saturn sextile, right, it's time to shift. We can't be too stuck in the 3D material world, which is Capricorn. There's something regarding that. Maybe some of you may reconsider career changes, actually, when I think about this. But can you just kind of rewind, maybe like 1 day, maybe?
I forgot about one thing. I want to add this as well to this the thing that I said. Because Pluto, I mentioned, you know, the kind of coming to light, coming to the surface, and transformation part that we kind of, this is the good part, I think, around this. But be a little bit wary of when these conjunctions are happening. There is a tendency to be a little bit obsessed, even can be obsessed with money, and where do I get it, or obsession with a certain kind of you know, person. Maybe there's somebody you see, maybe a love interest. There's a tendency to get a little bit, tiny bit more obsessed than usual with other people. And
you just think of your past more often, Capricorn.
Yeah, like I want to say something, but I'm really a bit weary. Is even people who kind of who are a little bit more obsessive themselves can come into your experience as well through relationships. Maybe it's online, you know, dating, some sort of event there. So I would approach, if you're, let's say, dating in the dating world, approach it from a Capricornian, you know, distance, and take your time, especially during these conjunctions, before you jump into anything very quickly, I would say.
I think there isn't such a more perfect time to be real with yourself. Capricorn, to be real. Like, stop kidding yourself. Like.
And the last thing I wanted to mention with these conjunctions, as for now, I think for now the good thing to do with these conjunctions, Venus, Pluto in Capricorn during retrograde, good time to research into kind of relationship psychology, even I would say, you know, synastry, astrology, from going to in a deeper place. Take your time, research some of the aspects and some things that are happening. These are good ways to go deeper. Even, I would say, relationship counseling, if you have some issues with a person or your partner. And you know, tantra, you know, these kind of deeper sexuality types that are more let's say, channeling the sexual energy in a healthier way, because, you know, Pluto can make it really intense and kind of almost obsessed about it. So learn to channel that sexual energy in a healthy way.
So you will reckon that from probably about 10th, 11th of December, when Venus still in direct motion, kiss Pluto, and then for like a good 2 weeks up till like just after Christmas, those 2 weeks are the most intense for this?
I would say so, yeah, because it's still, Venus is kind of in shadow, so it's not retrograde yet, you know, more intense, I would say, a little bit. This kind
of brings me to an advice that I just mentioned to that female friend of mine, that girlfriend who swiped on Tinder and saw the X on there. Because she actually called me and said, should I take him back?
That's the
very
thing.
much,
That's
right? Very much of that. The energy in shadow that we have now. What I told her was, stay calm, Capricorn. Remember that you left this person or episodes in your life that's concerning this person for a reason, and that the reason has not changed. So stick with the reason why that you left this person in the first place.
This is I agree with you mostly, but this is where I'm in a place of Like if you're really willing to go through it again and to find out if the reasons are still there and the person is still the same, then it's a good time to kind of reassess it. But yes, generally, if the person is the same.
Okay, this is in the context of, sure, you can go back unless you have acknowledged that you have changed from your past. Not one, but both of you. They may want to give it another shot. Maybe you just reckon that that person is like the one who got away. You know what I mean?
This one is actually really like good thing that might come during Venus retrograde. It's like all the exes seem like the one that got away. Are they like, oh, I made the mistake? Oh, these kinds of things are going to come.
But do look out for anything that's imbalanced when you're with that person, if the ex actually comes back. Because maybe one partner is too demanding, too domineering, too selfish. Or maybe the party is on the reverse, too submissive, too dependent, and too eager to please. And neither of these extremes, Pluto with Venus, is healthy. So it becomes like a toxic relationship. And anything that's dynamically representing toxic relationships might be more, you're more aware of it on a conscious level. And Venus retrograde kissing Pluto may throw all these imbalances into sharp focus. You can't run away from it. So acknowledge it. You know, maybe it's hard to tell yourself that. Why have you left that person behind? Maybe it's because of all those reasons I just mentioned. But treat it as a learning curve for yourself. And also acknowledge whether have you changed from your past, or are you just replaying such relationship dynamics in your current one? So if the answer is yes, then I'll prefer that you don't go back to someone like an ex or an old flame or whatever.
Yeah, go see a therapist. Go see a relationship counselor or something.
Actually, Venus-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn is quite a good one, I would say, to kind of sort out any relationship imbalances that you may have, because this conjunction can actually help you to transform or at least transmute certain ingrained patterns, which is Pluto. What we believe that is true for us, you know, Venus, and just kind of transmute that out, because Pluto does just that. And since you're on 26th of December, that Venus and Pluto actually trines that moon in late Virgo as well. This actually can be a very good day while Venus was retrograde. A perfect day actually post-Christmas on Boxing Day to purge your space of any items that reminds you of love that's since passed. So it's a very good day for housekeeping. And anything that you feel that you won't use again, even though you purchase it and put it in a storeroom somewhere, it's time to just throw them out, or at least donate it. That's how I would be using this day. That's pretty good. Do you have any upcoming days that you want to mention?
I don't think so. I think I mostly wanted to kind of mention the shadow period, when it goes retrograde and when it comes out. I think
can you fast forward 3 days?
What is 29th?
29th. I like this because Venus retrograde conjunct Mercury. Together with Pluto nearby. Because Venus and Mercury actually buddy up in the sky, I would say that if you've been taking, probably from now all the way to then, 29th of December, to think about relationship and self-worth stuff, 29th of December can be a very good day to set and communicate what your boundaries are with others, with this triple conjunction. With Pluto, that means that you are dead serious about things. So there's some kind of redefinition of personal boundaries. And can we skip forward to 5th of January? And 5th of January, I quite like this because it can be a very dreamy day. Venus actually forms a lovely sextile to Neptune. Yeah, 20 degrees of Capricorn. Yeah, sextiling Venus, sextiling Neptune. So I would say that if you really want to, well, I'll just keep piggyback on what Ian actually mentioned about seeking a therapist to sort out your relationship issues. This can be one of the days where you want to book in for it. Yeah, when Venus actually sextile Neptune. Because the planet of healing, which is Neptune here, is helping Venus a lot. So a very much needed help, healing around heartbreak from the past can take place. So you may just want to call up your confidant, call up your emotional rock. This can be a friend, this can be a sibling, this can be because Venus can mean sister as well. Or just some of your, or simply anyone really, when I think about that. And you probably have some kind of insight into healing. Can we skip forward to 3 days later? This is when Sun and Venus actually kiss.
Kazimchik.
Yeah, so Venus is in Kazimi with the Sun. So 8th of January can be a very good time to examine your self-worth within both career and relationship realms. I think those are the main ones, except one last one. And this one is going back, can you probably scroll day by day until Venus trines Uranus?
What is it? Trine Uranus?
Yeah, trine Uranus. So this is close to the
Oops.
When Venus actually trines Uranus for the second and third time is lumped together because they don't actually form a exact trine, but it's still close. Venus is actually prepared to move forward already, station direct. So the last few days of this retrograde, actually, I quite like it. It can be pretty lively, can be pretty social as well.
Look at this stellium here. Earth stellium.
Yeah, pretty exciting as well. If you want to ask your boss for a pay raise, maybe actually, that can work. Yeah.
This is actually a pretty good one. This is again a personal story. After a Venus retrograde, after putting a lot of effort and research into it, I actually managed to get a raise after a Venus retrograde. Obviously, I was using astrology,
right.
But I managed to get exactly the raise after the Venus retrograde period. So it is a good one here.
But while Venus was retrograde, you're just busting your ass, right?
Busting my ass and also understanding what I'm worth. It was kind of like both internal and external thing. I really need to understand what I'm worth and what I'm bringing to the table.
I think that's about all the major aspects it will be forming while Venus is in its phase. And shall we go to the signs? Yeah, sure. I think that's what the audience is really like.
Yeah. Give us the predictions.
Yeah, let's just skip forward this whole chunk of like your info and just move to the signs. I just want to know about me. I would say that just as overall, just a 3-sentence summary. The energy of this Venus retrograde will be felt especially intense for, I would say, for Taurus Rising, Cancer Rising, Capricorn Rising, and Aquarius Rising, because Venus will go retrograde respectively in their 9th house, 7th house, 1st house, and 12th house. And I would say that the cosmos is asking you to dig deep into your psyche and personal lives. Aries Rising, Gemini Rising, Leo Rising, and Sagittarius Rising will also feel the challenges, but probably not as intense as the 4 signs I mentioned previously. This is because Venus is retrograding in their 10th house, 8th house, 6th house, and 2nd house, respectively. This Venus retrograde, I pretty like it for Virgo Rising, Libra Rising, Scorpio Rising, and Pisces Rising, because you can actually benefit quite a bit from this Venus retrograde because Venus actually retrogrades in their 5th house, 4th house, 3rd house, and 11th house, respectively. But only, there's a big but only if they put in the personal work that comes along with this cosmic climate in this case. So three stacks of 4 ascendant signs in that order.
Yeah,
So
we like to stack things here on our show. Dissect and stack things.
Dissect and stack, just like an Excel spreadsheet, right? So do you want to start with like Venus retrograde in Capricorn for an Aries rising?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. For Aries, it's in the 10th house. The 10th house. So it's a lot about, remember, it's a lot about relationships. So whenever it goes into 10th house, it's a lot about relationship with bosses and kind of people who are, you know, maybe a little bit further along the way or kind of in that role, let's put it that way, maybe above you a little bit. And these relationships are going to be reassessed, rehashed. There are going to be some transformations happening there. There's going to be things coming to light in those relationships, or you might even learn about things about these people that you didn't even know. Also important to understand that you know, it is a time to take these relationships and transform them and either take them to the next level with the bosses, or at times, you know, the kind of rupture or breaking away can happen there as well. What did I want to say about I mean, even like the way you put yourself out there in kind of like the social, you might even feel a little bit hesitant to go and present yourself in the kind of social status kind of way. Or the second part is the where you are in your career and social status might be not to your liking. So you're kind of reassessing, rehashing, what should I do, what area should I go to, you know, these types of matters. And a little bit, I want to mention a relationship with co-workers as well, because I know a lot of people, you know, 6th house is employees and a little bit co-workers as well. I've explored this and observed this. Both houses, when they get influenced, things with either your employees, co-workers get triggered. So you're going to be Aries rehashing, changing relationships with your co-workers as well.
Interesting, because I've actually looked for Aries rising, and because Venus is retrograde in their 10th house, so for Aries rising, you're probably thinking carefully about the values that you're basing your career on. And you need to question yourself, are your ambitions worth the sacrifices that you are making? Or is that a more authentic way for you to achieve success? And because Venus is retrograding in your 10th house in the sign of Capricorn, you'll be very motivated as ever in the professional realm. But then you need to set enough time away for self-care, because there's a chance for you to burn out from all the business that you've been handling. And since Venus is the ruler of beauty and money, this retrograde can be a good time to access your professional wardrobe as well. And you may be taking steps to dress for the job that you want. And one side note, because Venus does rule the 2nd house and the 7th house for Aries rising, Second house is self-worth, how much you are worth in the bank.
Yeah.
Seventh house is contracts, and 10th house is career. I wonder if a lot of Aries rising over this Venus retrograde will be job hopping.
Yeah.
As well.
Can even, like think one career is good. Oh, I should maybe go in this direction. There's going to be a lot of that kind of maybe even shifting your gears in those areas.
Looking at how much money, reviewing your finances and strategizing whether for the next move to your next job, or like what Ian said with employees or co-workers, which can be a seventh house area theme. It may be that second house, your business is not really making as much money due to whatever external worldly circumstances for Aries rising. And then you just say, maybe I need to cut someone off.
Certainly.
Yeah. So there's something regarding like restructuring business strategies and all that. And for a more like family-oriented delineation, because 10th house can also mean, in most cases, I would say influence of the mother as well. 7th house is open enemies or conflicts. Second house is your own values. Maybe there's a clash between you and your mom over this time, over your value system versus hers as well. That can be one of the possible delineation as well.
I usually like to say one of the parents. Be very diplomatic here. With one of the parents.
Can be. Yeah. Anything more you want to add?
I think it's good for Aries.
Yeah, last but not least, it's also about defining career objectives. I think that's what I want to put in, just sneak it in.
Maybe one thing, at times the career you're at or career on might not be as enjoyable.
It's dry and dusty.
Like, yeah. Good one. Okay, so Taurus, we have Taurus.
Taurus Rising, yeah.
Taurus, what do we have? We have ninth house.
Yes.
It's all about ninth house. So here in my experience, it's a lot about the father figure, mentor figure, teacher figure type relationships, and foreigners. Remember, guys, ninth house is foreigners. So if you have kind of more relationship with foreigners coming up, or in your life, let's say, then all of these themes that we've been mentioning, coming to light, some jealousies, power struggles, power themes, these are the people that these themes are going to be playing out. So I even wrote down here like sexual tensions and power games with teachers. So if you're in those types of relationships, maybe step away is one way to say it. But like even if there's a person who's teaching you something, there can be issues with power there. So what I mean, that they're saying something to you, but internally you're going to be like, I'm going to bring this to you, and then now they're feeling triggered, and that there's can be this type of dynamic, but a little bit suppressed with the Capricorn. So be on the lookout with that. Personally, I do like to step away from these if I don't feel the need to go into them very specifically. But obviously, you need to assess the situation. And if you need to say something, if you are in a position to kind of stand your ground or something, do that as well. Also, the things you're learning about, kind of like higher wisdom and learning things, even reassessing the beliefs entirely, I would say is a possibility there for a Taurus rising. The things, how you see the world, how you see the future, your belief systems might need transformation. Let's put it that way. You're going to see something is not working there. And now is the time to kind of study, go deeply, look at those things deeply, what are not working, I think it's a good time for you guys to go into like this kind of like higher learning, deeper learning areas where you can research, again, Pluto, research into these matters more strongly. And some things you believe that are no longer actually true, again, Pluto will bring them to the light.
And probably transmute that off somewhere.
And transmute that probably.
Or
to the consciousness somewhere.
To piggyback off what Ian said, probably if you can't go many places over the holiday period, just ring us up. Ninth house is also astrologers.
It is.
Yeah, the divine counsel that we provide.
Oh yes, that's a good one. Divine counsel.
Divine counsel. I've actually written here for Taurus Rising that this period actually encourages you to stay close to home, to consolidate the progress that you've made, instead of seeking new horizons or new adventures. Focus on stability while Venus will be retrograding, and ground yourself carefully. Because when you have Venus retrograde in the 9th house in the sign of Capricorn, you can actually feel a bit ungrounded as well. And since for Taurus Rising, their Venus ruled even more so, it actually the energy can filter into their body, ascendant, but also Venus rules their 6th house as well. So both are pretty much talking about health and physical reality. So it's something regarding grounding yourself. Maybe pamper yourself a bit more. Take that, Epsom salt bath or something. Yeah, just to chill. And also, I've written here that this retrograde period packs serious soulmate energy for you. Because it activates the 9th house, which rules spirituality. And you may find that you're developing connections with others quickly, which could actually spell trouble if you're in a relationship. So whether you're single or partner up for that matter, keep in mind that we all have more than one soulmate. Soulmates actually appear when someone has the potential to teach us a lesson at a very deep soul level, particularly when Pluto is also in your 9th house for Taurus Rising. So before moving forward with anyone romantically, ask yourself if it is a soul-based lesson that you want to learn. So for Taurus Rising can be very exciting, a very transformative time. This can be via a foreigner, like what Ian said. This can be also via like a teacher, mentor figure, whom you want to link with.
Yeah. Maybe if there's stuff happening there,
yeah,
don't jump into the sheets immediately with them. Take your time.
But then business guides and mentors those resources can be more open to you, actually. Okay.
I think in general, there's going to be some suppressed sexual energy that's almost wanting to burst constantly during these conjunctions. One thing I didn't say before.
For Taurus Rising.
Well, I think for everyone. most likely for everyone, but for those of you especially who kind of like the sexual houses are more affected, so 8th, 5th, 12th a little bit, 5th, 8th more so.
All right,
maybe 7th a little bit.
Especially when Pluto's there.
Yeah. What are we? Gemini ascendant,
Gemini ascendant,
sun or moon, we can say.
Oh yeah, but we mostly talk about ascendant here. Yeah, because we tie in the house rulership a lot. So
yeah. So for you guys, Gemini's 8th house going to be under the focus during this I would say for Geminis, for me, it's a little bit of an intense time because it's still the 8th house. So this means a lot about your, let's say from a practical point of view, let's start with that. Going through bookkeeping, insurance things, seeing if there's money, they're stuck somewhere, if there's some money that you should have from other people that's not come your way yet. Also, you know, clients' money coming your way. How to put this down? I don't want to say it's not. It can be a momentary dry spell there. You know, a little bit of a maybe not so much coming in, but now it's time to kind of reassess what you can do, so that will keep flowing. As I mentioned, taxes might need to work on those a little bit more. Bookkeeping. Now, from a partnership kind of view, 8th house is also your partner's resources. So something you might even find out about these resources. Maybe there's some problems with his or her resources that needs fixing.
Someone's been hiding money in that joint account.
I don't want. I didn't want to say it at all, but I kind of. That's the taste here that you might find out. Let's put it that way. Also, now let's maybe talk a little bit about deeper, or even like there's might be some delays with, you know, resources coming from the partner or from the clients. Now, let's say from a deeper perspective, it is a very emotional, deep house, and there are, you know, our wounds are associated. Whenever there's something in the 8th house, and it's so transformative, right now, I would say with the Pluto, especially helping you in its own house for you guys. It's helping you to heal those intimacy issues, I would say, in this case, relationship issues, and some of those internal issues that are, you know, might keep you from being as intimate. Because remember, guys, for you, Gemini, 8th house is Capricorn. So intimacy is a bit difficult usually for you guys. And this is an opportunity for you guys to go deeper and to release some of those issues that might be kind of blocking you there as well.
I've actually written here that debts and financial issues could mount up over this Venus retrograde period. And it's not a good time to either lend or borrow money, for that matter. Also buy insurance as well, because insurance is 8th house. Maybe you can get a better offer after the Venus retrograde is over. 8th house is also emotional debts. They are being called in as well. And so use this time to cleanse your conscience if you need to thank or forgive someone. 8th house is also ruling shamanic practices. So maybe for Gemini rising, over this Venus retrograde, you may look at practicing some kind of shamanic rituals that can help you reborn or rebirth, because Pluto is also there as well. Maybe you need to cut some cords that you've been wanting to cut. And then this Venus retrograde comes along in your 8th house, kissing Pluto 3 times, and you'll be able to cut that for good. Someone from the past, Capricorn, that you've been kind of holding on for very long, even if you're not conscious of 8th house. And also service level interactions won't cut it for you over this retrograde. And you'll be in the mood to share yourself fully with that special someone with a desire for deep conversations and intimacy. I know someone very well who has that right now and is still going through that right now, having very long drawn out intimate conversations with that special one to kind of trash things out as well. And you may find that not everyone is emotionally prepared to bare their soul to you, which can in turn make you feel closed off from them. So look for ways to engage in heartfelt conversations with your heart's desires in this case. Then ease your way into the more intense stuff later. Remember that everyone's comfort level is different, and try not to take it personally when or if someone you're involved with needs their own space over this time as well. So Venus actually rules for Gemini Rising, their 5th and 12th house. What do you have for them? 5th, 8th, and 12th all pulling together. I think I know what you're gonna say, but
I think for me personally, I think their intimacy stuff is going to come up, and it's going to be almost like needed to be transformed, and some maybe uncomfortable things coming to the surface that they need to address in regarding their romantic relationships.
And if I want to be really blunt, 5th house can rule sports, 12th house can rule things you can't see. It's just outside of your peripheral. 8th house can be like crisis or in the emergency room. So if I were to combine all these things plus Venus retrograde in Capricorn, just take care if you're doing sports, because there's a tendency you may hurt your knee, which is Capricorn. And you probably need a surgery, which is like Venus retrograde in the 8th house in Capricorn. Yeah, although there's other ways you can get a knee injury, which I won't mention here. Because
let's say if you're spending time between the sheets, use the standard positions.
Don't be on your knees too long. Yeah. Or actually, if I were to think about on a more lighthearted side, if you have daddy or mommy issues, maybe you like that particular DILF or MILF, something can happen over this time for Gemini rising as well. Maybe you meet someone who's very established, like much older gentleman. There's an age gap involved, and or a lady, of course. No biases here. And you're just interested in them, and you just walk up to them and start something new, And last but not least, 8th house Capricorn. Capricorn is dealing with restraints, right? So 12th house is big pleasures. 5th house is your sexual expression. So I wonder if for Gemini rising over this Venus retrograde period, because Pluto is also there in their 8th house, that actually I've got someone who's a Gemini rising who just told me that she recently got into financial dominatrix work.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good energy for that, I think.
Yeah, financial dominatrix. Basically, you call up the person, berate them, and you get money transferred to you. There's no need to have any like that kind of big pleasures with them. So, it's also time to revamp your sex life if it's been getting quite stale.
More effort needed.
Just talk with your partner.
More effort.
Right? Talk with your partner and all that. Maybe you need to go to the store and get some toys. Yeah. That's like because Venus rules their 5th and 12th house, right? You go to somewhere obscure to get some pleasurable stuff. Okay, how about Cancer rising?
Cancer rising.
Yeah.
I mean, Cancer, you guys have kind of like, in my mind, the double kind of influence, because you're having it in the 7th house. You're having Venus retrograde in the 7th. So everything we kind of said, or a lot of, let's not go too dramatic, a lot of what we have said kind of double, what's the word I'm looking for? Influences you in your relationships, because it is in the house of relationships. So it's all going to be a lot about relationships, partnerships, old ones coming back, thinking about old partners, old partnerships, seeing if this contract is still valid for me. Is it beneficial for me, this agreement with this person, be it business, pleasure, or even another one is you might be even working towards some sort of a new contract, new agreement, You might even have negotiations where there are going to be these kind of power issues or dominance issues, or kind of like these, you know, maybe there's what are they called, the people who recruiters. Maybe you're in that kind of like negotiation with a recruiter, and they have the power and then you have the power, and these types of things will most likely be up there. And
Headhunters, is it?
Sorry, headhunters is a
Headhunters.
good. Yeah, these might be approaching you, and also you obviously we can't get away from your marriage, long-term partner who you're with. Similar themes are there. I do recommend, you know, the Mercury comes into that. Pluto helps. You need to really talk about these matters if there are some issues coming up. Really, communication. In the end, it's in the 7th house, so diplomacy needs to exist, even if you understand that there are some imbalances. Maybe one is more dominant. It comes out that one is more dominant, or you kind of realize something, or you hear something about your partner as well. Is maybe like the more negative side that can come to the surface that you didn't really know about it. It can be dark with Pluto. It can be suppressed. So don't be too alarmed, but you know, these themes can come up as well. Also with clients as well, these issues can come up for you, Cancers.
Wow, okay. I've actually written here for Cancer Rising. This Venus retrograde actually asks you to think carefully about whether your relationships are equitable and honorable in all regards. Because 7th house is about what's fair for you, but also for the other person.
Good one.
And if you or your partner actually have been less than honest or less than respectful, Capricorn, it could be time to move on, for that matter. And because when I think about Venus retrograde for Cancer Rising in their 7th house, it's all about love, or at least most of it. But it also more broadly applies to all sorts of relationships. So matters of the heart will be up for review, which means past hurts or past loves could come back into play as well. Yeah. So your exes can actually come back, for that matter.
I think for Cancers, it's really kind of up there with literally people coming back, like asking, can we give it another go, or you know, something along those lines.
Yeah, and for Cancer Risings who are in an existing partnership, try not to let emotional upsets that have been buried come back into your life. Because throwing unresolved issues back into someone's face is likely to cause damage to your relationships. But if you're single, be on the lookout for exes and try not to get involved with someone who has brought you grief, which is Capricorn, or toxicity in the past, which is Venus and Pluto in your 7th house while Venus is retrograding. And Venus actually rules your 4th and 11th house. 4th house is endings and beginnings. 11th house is friends with benefits. Mm-hmm. 7th house is to engage. So I wonder if an ex comes back and you want to take him or her back for a friends with benefits relationship to begin with. But if that's the case for Cancer Rising, I know you guys can be more emotional than usual.
Oh, yeah.
Really sentimental. So you have to ask yourself, what me and Ian mentioned earlier in this video, you left that person for a reason, and you got to analyze if you are in a different headspace and breathing space, whether you have changed enough to re-engage that person from the past, that old flame of yours.
Most likely, if you engage, like the higher probability is that when the retrograde ends, you know, the
someone
engagement.
Might change their mind. Yeah. But at least you got 40 days and 40 nights, right?
That's something, guys.
It's something. Something's familiar. You know?
Yeah.
So how about Leo Rising?
Why not? Leos. Okay, so Leo, guys, you will have it again in, oh, sorry, not again. You will have it again in a work related house. So
Sixth
sixth
house.
So a lot of focus is on the relationships with your employees, if you are in that space, if you are, let's say, a boss somewhere, or if you're not, still the relationship with the people you work with. I've noticed it's very, very much sixth house. Come out to the, let's say, surface to play. Also, how to put this? No, I'm always struggle with the, with the sixth house, kind of how do I name this? But people who are in imbalanced situations, maybe who are problematic.
You want me to spit out some sixth house themes?
I don't. It's
servants, hired help, employees, unbalanced.
Yeah, I don't want it. It's annoying for me. I know.
Unequal relationships. Yes.
Unequal relationships. This is one of the best ways to describe the sixth house. There can be obviously people who are in, service type roles, but or are imbalanced themselves, that are kind of coming into your life right now, and these relationships have to be reworked, transformed, reassessed. Most likely, if the imbalance is too big, too large, you might need to, end them as well. It's a theme for sure. Now, from another perspective, things you do from a daily routine perspective, is it food, diet? Is it an exercise routine? These things won't bring you as much pleasure during this time, but you will also reevaluate them to kind of change them, make them different, to kind of transform them is, let's say, the best. Something you will find out something about these routines and things that will actually, if you change it, it will actually help you do create a better routine afterwards, after that, after the retrograde is over. And also, let's mention maybe pets. So some things with pets as well, there you need to fix, you need to reassess that you're doing. Some problems need to be worked there, and maybe you discover something about your health that needs to be worked as well.
Oh yeah, I've actually wrote for Leo Rising that actually this retrograde period encourages you to think about your work and professional relationships. I think the focus here is to be on becoming a better team player rather than a lone wolf. This may mean getting your ego under control in order to work better with colleagues. This may be like a reshuffle in your thinking at work, because I know a few Leo Rising people. And since it's in your natal sixth house that Venus will go retrograde, Leo Rising are basically the warmest and the most generous sign of the zodiac. But with this retrograde in your sixth house for Leo Rising, maybe you need to analyze the give and take aspect within your romantic relationships. If you've been receiving the short end of the stick in your partnerships lately, this could be the time to address it. And this is also a good time to check in with your health. If you've been working overtime lately, now's the time to pull back and relax a little bit. And since your sixth house starts in the sign of Capricorn, this can be a visit to a chiropractor. Sometimes a dentist. Capricorn can rule teeth as well. But sixth house, if I were to pull in the Venus root houses, because Venus actually rules your natal 3rd and 10th house, there can also be some skin-related flare-ups as well. So maybe a visit to a dermatologist. Maybe for some, you may develop hives from being overstressed, or you need some ointments for it. And some skin allergies can actually crop up for you as well. Yeah. And like what Ian said, because Venus rules your third house, which is your efforts and applied efforts to something, and 10th house is really like your goal, your mission. And Venus is retrograding in your 6th house. Maybe it's time to revamp that diet and exercise routine or regime as well. Yeah. So how about Virgo rising?
Virgos. I know Virgo. Oh, Virgos.
Yeah.
For you, Virgos, it's all about the 5th house. So again, I would say it's a kind of like although it's not a natural Venus house, but it's still a lot to do with romance. It's a lot to do with lovers and
Venus has joy in the 5th. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And also it's a lot about, you know, those potential love type relationships. So again, it's kind of like I would say a more of a focus there. And I would say if you are right now getting into or thinking into relationships, there is a chance at times these happen, you know, especially some sort of love interest happens before the shadow, and it comes, and then during the retrograde period, there is a type of getting to know the person, and I would really kind of take it slowly, especially during the retrograde. And Capricorn anyway, you will most likely take it slowly in those areas. And if you're already seeing somebody who's kind of like new, let's say maybe the relationship isn't really deep yet, now is time to kind of, okay, so what do we do here? Is this relationship, do we take it to the next level? Do we not? Some things coming out to the surface to be ironed out, kind of. So be prepared to kind of enter into dialogue with these people and date. I would say for me, dating is a good way to find out if that person, although okay, we're having like it's in Capricorn, Venus retrograde, so it might be a little bit difficult to find those dates. You might need to work to get those dates going. But what I've literally experienced, this is from a personal experience as well, if you make it work and if you put in the effort, you can actually do it, and you can actually go on these dates. Although yes, they can feel like work, but they will give you kind of like the idea and this deeper thing about the person. So it's easier to know to either to move on, break it off. What do you guys want to do there? Yeah, I just want to say a couple of more things kind of quickly. A bit harder to have fun. All those creative projects, work projects, it's a lot to do with business, this 5th house as well. So if you're already in a business kind of thing yourself, personal expression of your uniqueness, you're going to need to put more efforts in. You might need to even change something about this business. You might need to maybe do it a little bit differently, and also harder to go out and have fun, definitely, during this period. And even going out and having fun might not be that amazing to you. And with children, let's say if you have children, there might be some issues with them to iron out as well, or they can you know, when we're talking about you know, power dynamics with a child, there are still, as a parent, you know, now as a parent myself, finally more talk about this, there are still you know power dynamics within that relationship. So you might need to look at those as well with your child or children.
Interesting. Because I've written here that Venus retrograde for Virgo rising activates your creative instincts. So any artistic pursuits are very healing during this period because Pluto is also there. And then you'll form like a sextile eventually, as we mentioned earlier with Neptune as well. So some kind of artistic self-expression using your creativity can really help you to channel pain or anxiety about love or money issues. And expressing yourself creatively can also free your demons as well, for that matter. And for Virgo rising, since this Venus retrograde is in your 5th house, where and how you spend your time in your downtime, 5th house is leisure, will be at the forefront of your mind over this retrograde period. It may be difficult for you to fake happiness right now as well, because 5th house is also where we express our joy. And if your heart is not in something, it won't be easy for you to get involved. So remember that it's okay to say no. Capricorn is to say no to events or gatherings that don't interest you. And instead of doing things to make others feel happy right now, which is, I can attest to that, I'm Virgo rising, keep your focus on the things that you want to participate in from a heart-based perspective, rather than you feel that you're being obliged to show up somewhere and you'll be thinking like, why am I here? You know, and like what Ian said, something regarding children, but 5th house can mean children, but also can mean your baby in a broader sense, which means your own business as well. And when I think about Venus ruling Virgo rising 2nd and 9th house, maybe you've been wanting to become an astrologer, but you feel that you're not worthy to be one. To start your own business, 5th house, to become a self-employed. 5th house can rule being self-employed as well. Maybe this Venus retrograde will set in stone for you to walk that path on top of like other entrepreneurial businesses in which you want to enter as well. Maybe you are looking at putting money away, which is 2nd house, to start your own business, 5th house, in order to do the appropriate mass advertising, for example, which is 9th house issues. I would say it's along those lines as well. But for Virgo rising, this can be also a time where you may, on top of other ascendant signs, you may overwork yourself also. Because for Virgo rising, Capricorn in their 5th house, not really the most, it's almost like they treat their downtime, which is 5th house, to do more work, Capricorn, to contribute more. Because 5th house is escaping from responsibilities, and in Capricorn is the total opposite of what the 5th house meaning is about. So it's a bit of a paradoxical meaning. And love life and love affairs, romance life can be a bit, you need to reevaluate. So if you meet someone who you think that you can have a relationship with, just sit on it for a minute. Don't just kind of ride it to the max and keep dropping phone calls and text messages, because Pluto is in that mix with Venus as well. And when Venus sextile Neptune, there can be a lot of daydreaming because Neptune is transiting for Virgo rising their 7th house. So 5th and 7th house is sextiling. So you may have unrealistic expectations of that person, and suddenly that bubble just burst. Yeah, as well.
I think that's a good one for the overall kind of Venus retrograde as well. Because you might get too optimistic about it, and then they're like, oh.
But you know what? 5th house is also the urge to be special and the urge to influence, for that matter. I know for Virgo rising, I can say for myself at least, that we don't think we are that special. Honestly, most of the times when I do such videos like me and you are doing now, I give myself a C-.
Jesus Christ.
Can be pretty harsh with ourselves, and Venus retrograde in our 5th house, at least for me, is to teach me be your best friend, be your own cheerleader, fifth house, for once.
Very good.
You know, and not beat up yourself just because I'm putting myself out on the internet. Venus rules my ninth house. You know, and all that. So what about Libra Rising?
I know a Libra Rising as well.
What about?
Oh, Libra Rising. Oh, guys. So I think for you, if you think about Venus retrograde in the fourth house, it's a lot to do with, first and foremost, relationship with the parents, with the family. So there is a tendency to even at times go back to your family home and then like go into those relationships. Maybe you need to take a trip there and now you go back there, you know, Christmas. Hello. But you know, these kind of relationships will be there, and you will most likely encounter some types of power dynamics within those relationships as well. You know, maybe you're an adult now, but your family's or your mother, father still treat you as a kind of like a child, put you down, you know, happens, need to deal with that and need to, you know, rise above it and you know, say that you're an adult now. Might find out something about your family, might find out something about those parents that comes as a kind of like a shock, surprise to you. Deeper topics there. Very much also important to understand the kind of your own personal happiness as well during this fourth house transit. Is like, what is that it makes you happy? What do you need for emotional security, kind of safety? These are topics that are coming your way. Also, because it's early childhood stuff. Now, Libras, this is where it might get a little bit uncomfortable because Pluto does bring things up there. So if, you know, think about a Libra, you have Capricorn in the fourth house, you know, usually means a little bit of a colder childhood environment, early childhood environment, which can at times leave certain kinds of pains, wounds there. Now, these might come to the surface to be kind of, again, ironed out or fixed, or not, maybe fixed is not the best word, processed is a better word, to kind of be done with, transformed. Now, what did, also the home environment. During the retrograde, you might find it, maybe it's not the right environment, maybe not, like the curtains aren't the best and you need to buy new ones. I would urge you to kind of research and prepare during Venus retrograde. If you have already been preparing to kind of fix things, add things, yes, then it's okay to do it now. But if it's something you are figuring to change during the actual retrograde in your home, I would hold, research, you know, look at web pages, look at, you know, go to the bigger shops, construction, furniture shops, and then when the retrograde is done, make sure it's something you need and want and kind of makes you feel more Venusian and secure and safe at home before you do buy it. And one other thing is now in Vedic astrology, and this is, I've tested this out with a bunch of retrogrades. The fourth house is also vehicles. Now in modern astrology, third house is vehicles. I've found both to be true in some weird way. I don't know how. So some Libras, you might be looking at your vehicle, maybe it needs some work, maybe it's not the one for you anymore, the actual vehicle. Maybe you need to start selling it. Some work needs to be done, need to go take it to the shop to get fixed. Looking to buy a new automobile, also a possibility. Again, if it's something you've been doing or researching before, I would do it. If not, wait and research and do it after the retrograde. There it is.
Wow, interesting. Because when I think about Libra Rising, right, because Capricorn is in their fourth house, usually for Libra Rising, the treatment for one of the parents is more harsh, or it can be that they just, circumstances wise, they just need to grow up sooner than they would because of austerity, stuff going on in the house and all that. For me, I've written here that Venus retrograde in your 4th house activates your family zone and urges you to consider whether you've taken family life for granted recently. And you may need to adjust your work-life balance because the polar opposite house of the 4th is in the 10th. So based on that work-life balance again, I would say just become more present over this Venus retrograde and be a more involved partner, parent, or sibling to your loved ones. That as well. And Venus retrograde in your 4th house classically reminds me of the phrase, home is where the heart is, because Venus is the heart and 4th house is the home. And you will feel especially true for you, this particular thing over this retrograde period. And it makes it a perfect time for you to go into hermit mode as well. So instead of forcing yourself out of the house, spend time engaging with self-care from the comfort of your living room and use your time away from the spotlight, because it's the opposite from the 10th house, the spotlight house, to get rid of old junk and reinvest into making your home the sanctuary that you deserve. This actually reminds me that it may not be a bad idea to hold a garage sale for Libra Rising.
Very good. Like organize things at home.
So
use the
proceeds of things old lying in your house to buy something new to furnish Venus. Venus is furnished with something new.
Nice.
Yeah. Or maybe live a more minimalistic lifestyle.
Like you like to anyway.
Bare bone furnishings, which is very Capricorn in the 4th house. Yeah. Yeah. Minimalism, yeah, of course.
Minimalism, total Libra thing.
So how about for
Scorpio?
Oof, okay.
The Scorpios, let's start with the fact that everything I said about Libra and the vehicles kind of applies here, because 3rd house is vehicles as well. So no doubt about that in my book. So go check that out. Now, a lot of the relationships, again, that are going to be affected for you, Scorpios, are the ones very often still with the people you work with, because the 3rd house is a lot to do with teams. And where do we have the most teams? Still in our workplace. So those relationships are going to be under the microscope. Let's put it that way. And let's say even like meetings, even during like everyday meetings in the office, for example, or it doesn't have to be office, online meetings, you're going to experience some kind of power struggles, power themes there with people. So stay alert on those things. Even the things you think about. Now, the big topic with 3rd house. There can be rehashing constantly, again, thinking about old relationships. This is I think we can't escape this with Scorpios, kind of obsessive thoughts about these relationships with the Scorpio there. Even sexual thoughts about, I would say, about your previous relationships. And yeah, go ahead.
You know what? When I think about Scorpio Rising, they always put everything on the line. Everything's a crisis to them. It's almost like they're always getting ready for a transformation to occur. So they can be very pressing, intense people. And then Capricorn in their 3rd house, there can be a tendency to top down as well.
I would say so. Yeah.
Please continue with that. That's what I wanted to add. So when Venus is there, what do you think? Yeah.
Sorry.
So when Venus is retrograde there in their third house, do you reckon that they will reevaluate whether do they need to really talk down to other people, like as if they know it all?
Yeah, I think like in general, how they speak, how they write, with how they communicate in general with people comes now to. Now it will come to your faces, guys. Let's be really honest, because Pluto will make it so, and Venus as well. Both will kind of throw it into your face in a way, and you might need to reassess it, need to change it. The things maybe you say sometimes things that are too mean, and it's not a personal opinion, it's just the fact that
Well, it can just be blunt, right? Yeah.
Or very, very direct, of course. I would say that's a very positive manifestation. Okay, so what did I have? Business projects, also very, very important with the third house. So kind of how you do marketing, how you do generally business, some projects there, some even courses. If you're teaching some side of left, or even preparing courses, need to kind of change something there, beautify them. If you're learning them, need to learn, put more efforts into learning them, takes more time. What else did I want to say about this? Skills is important one. Kind of reevaluating your skills, definitely. Getting my brain is a little bit now. Maybe you have something I can rest until the next one.
Oh yeah, I mean, I did say that Venus retrograde for Scorpio Rising in their third house by whole sign house system can set you thinking deeply about what matters to you most, Scorpio. This is taking into account your rising sign. And this is also a good time for self-reflection and journaling as well. Maybe through a better understanding of your own psychology, you can adjust your behavior and become a better you. This can be one of the manifestation or one of the themes that run through you over this Venus retrograde period. But this third house, when I think about it, is also about, on top of communication, is also flirting. Third and fifth house are both houses of flirting. And if you're in a relationship for Scorpio Rising, how you discuss issues can also come up for review because Venus is retrograde there. So don't shy away from trying new conversational techniques, which is Capricorn in the third house where Venus is retrograding. And if you are single, this is a good time to meet new people without going too deep too fast because you're Scorpio Rising, remember? And for once, you might actually enjoy small talk, which is third house matters, and getting to know someone slowly, Capricorn. So allow any new romantic connections to unfold at their own pace. Particularly because Venus also rule your 7th house and 12th house for Scorpio Rising. So any misunderstanding within relationships can be trashed out when Venus is retrograding in your 3rd house. This may not only be a relationship regarding partners, business partners, or personal partners whatsoever, since Venus is retrograding in your 3rd house of siblings and relatives. Maybe there's some previous misunderstanding with a sibling or an uncle or auntie figure, or even a neighbor, 3rd house.
Yeah, neighbor.
Time to trash it out. Yeah, because 12th house can mean misunderstandings, or you're not understood clearly, for that matter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything you want to add? Oh, I think one more piggybacking off you that's regarding selling an idea to people.
Yeah.
Because 3rd house can really mean that you'll be speaking like a business person or speaking like the boss. Selling an idea to other people. 12th house can also mean if you work for a MNC or multinational corporation. Very good for that. If you've got a project that you want to pitch, you can talk like a boss or very good salesperson. 3rd house. Yeah. And sell that well to the upper management, Capricorn. and they will likely like be taken in by your charm, Venus. So how about Sagittarius rising?
So Sagittarius Rising, guys, for you, it's happening again in a Venusian house, second house. So what I have noticed with Venus retrograde in the second house is very often leading up to the retrograde. First and foremost, you might see some increase in finances. Maybe you get a bonus. Bonus is a little bit more 11th house, but maybe you have some investments, money coming in there, increasing general finance, some money coming back to you, leading up to it very often. Now, when we enter the retrograde period, this is a time for the Sagittarius in the second house to really reorganize your finances, to really go deep, do research. Where can you invest your money better? Even some of the mistakes you might be making with your money that can come up during the retrograde. You can see misplaced money, even some old money. Like the positive thing here is literally you can see some area where you misplace it and then it comes back, or you loan some money and it kind of comes back to you and you're even forgotten about it. But having said that, also you kind of need to be a little bit, or even the tendency to be more stingier. Maybe stingy is a bit of a bad word, but
Frugal.
no, frugal is a really good word. Thank you, Donny. Is a little bit more frugal with finances, a little bit more frugal with where you place it, where you invest it. Also possessions, big theme with second house in general. What are the things that you enjoy? What are the things that you need? Do you need this good time to kind of get rid of what you don't need after the shadow period or the retrograde ends and shadow comes in? Then it's again, you're going to see the results of your reorganizing your finances, and you're getting chances, opportunities to actually purchase the things that you really want to. And also the deeper part here is a lot about the self-worth. Again, with Sagittarius, you're going to see where you're cutting yourself basically short, or selling yourself short is even a better word, where you can raise prices, where you're actually offering maybe too much or getting too little in return for your services. And the last thing I would like to actually say here is because the second house is a lot about to do with family history. So researching something deeper there. Why your kind of ancestors, maybe your parents, maybe grandparents, maybe even further down the line, why did they do some things with money? Or why did they believe some of the things about money and themselves that might be holding you back, that you can now transform and kind of reassess and change in such a way that you will create more, and also when you create more, you will receive more in return as well.
Interesting, because I've said for Sagittarius rising that this retrograde period of Venus activates your money zone and urges you to be less materialistic, but also more responsible with what money that you do have. So try to cut down on reckless spending, which is second house issues, and on unnecessary expenses. I think the mantra here is that you really can live with much less.
I know a Sagittarius rising, and they do. It's almost strange because they have quite a bit of money, comfortable money.
I know one too.
But they live a very, very minimalistic approach with money, and it's kind of even strange to see at times, I would say.
I think that
from where I'm standing.
That also depends on their like any planets in the second plus right, where their Saturn is, and however is expected. That also brings into the picture. But carrying on with Sagittarius rising, when Venus is retrograding in your second house, financial woes could crop up for you as Venus moves backwards in the cosmos. So don't run away from your financial obligations if you have any. Like as I mentioned earlier, avoid overspending right now, because second house is literally the money that's sitting in your bank account, right there at your disposal. And try to put some cash into the bank if you can swing it. And that could be a temptation to refresh your wardrobe during this time. Venus is about fashion, right? Anything in second house is like what you buy and all those things. Just try to make sure that you set and stick to a budget. Should you find yourself reaching for your credit cards right now? Venus also rules your 6th house of debts and 11th house of gains. 6th house is also your place of employment. So I'm not sure whether for Sagittarius Rising, over this Venus retrograde period, end of the year and beginning of next year, that you'll be getting a bonus or a payout that you are not really expecting from work. Yeah. And if I were to use derivative houses, because Venus rules their 6th house, which is second from the 5th, and Venus also rules their 11th house, which is 5th from the 7th. So I wonder, because both derivative houses include the 5th in it, so any speculative investments, you will need to reevaluate it before engaging in one. And 5th house is also children. So if your child is like blooming into teenagerhood and wants a boyfriend or a girlfriend, this may be when the partner actually shows up. And you probably need to sit down with your kid, with your child, to talk about, maybe some sexual education, just in case.
Nice.
That's for Sagittarius Rising. So how about Capricorn Rising?
Oh, we're getting to the end of this marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, Capricorn, maybe I should start with, I really want to put out kind of like a warning for Capricorns in a way with this first house, because it's maybe not a warning. It's too dramatic. Sorry, guys. It's something I did, and it's better maybe to learn, from mistakes of others, easier at times. So when we're talking about the first house and Venus retrograde especially, we're talking a lot about appearance and our kind of physical appearance. We can say how we present ourselves to the world. Now, when Venus goes into retrograde in your first house, a lot of this type of like, am I looking good? Like, why am I looking like this? And like these clothes and this hairstyle and this beard, and maybe
why am I looking like beige? Yeah.
Why am I looking like this?
Yeah.
Comes into the topic. So this happens especially during the shadow and during the start. Now, as things progress, you might start having these weird ideas that you need to do this, you need to do that. I wouldn't personally recommend it too much. If it's something, again, I'm going to repeat, if it's something you've been planning for a long time, it's better. If it's something entirely like, ooh, I'll do this, hopefully Capricorn and energy can kind of dial it down here. But I would urge you to think even 3 times before making these changes to your appearance. You will most likely need to change them back later after the retrograde. So having said that, you will reassess your appearance and not feel super happy about it during the retrograde. And I think the other thing is like maybe the deeper thing here is, where am I headed, towards during this lifetime? What areas am I moving towards? Is the path I'm on a really correct one? Going to be reassessing that as well, and take action towards these areas, new areas after the retrogrades. It will be, or if it's been there for a while, this now might be the kind of like, okay, I'm going to do it, basically time as well. I'm going to change and do something entirely different with my life.
Interesting, because I've actually said that Venus retrograde in your own zodiac sign is a time for deep reflection. You will emerge from this period with a better understanding of who you are as a lover and as an individual. So don't be afraid of your flaws, because we are all flawsome. Embrace them and become a more authentic version of yourself. And it's also about putting yourself first as well, since it's in your ascendant sign. And since Venus is traveling backwards under your sign, it's okay to be a bit more self-involved right now. And you may find yourself putting up walls as you focus on personal goals and self-interest, which is the first house. So just be sure that you don't end up isolating yourself from good-hearted people who care about you. And additionally, you may also feel that it's refreshing to update your look as well, because ascendant is how you appear, your appearance. So because it's in the sign of Capricorn, try not to make drastic changes to your appearance until Venus begins move direct again. Just go to what you have gone to, lean on to as your,
that's a good one.
It's like your conservative way of like freshening up. Maybe you're so used to doing your hair or dressing in a certain way, in a certain, just stick to that. Yeah, maybe just kind of, because Venus rules accessories, maybe just kind of like insert that pocket scarf, just
that's a
like,
very good one.
Change up your tie color, keep the rest the same. Maybe it's that pin on your suit, that you want to change and all that. And since Venus rules your 10th house and 5th house, I wonder if during this time you may be re-evaluating your skill set and your abilities professionally, and you may be updating your CV, getting prepared to apply for a new job. That can be also that. And since we're talking about old flames and exes coming back with Venus retrograde, since Venus rules your 10th house and 5th house, I wonder if a past office romance will come back over this period as well to you. Yeah. So how about Aquarius rising?
So for Aquarius, we have the we have the retrograde in the 12th house. So first and foremost, let's start with in my mind, you will be fantasizing even more, like almost like dreaming about old relationships, and this is maybe kind of like a thing to keep be wary of, because the 12th house is kind of like a mystical house, so it's easy to put these rose-colored glasses on your face and, oh, this relationship was so amazing, I should contact them now, but most likely it's kind of like the 12th house distortion in a little bit of making it more than it is, making it more magical than it actually was. So take the root of 12th house here with kind of like its ability to research and maybe more isolated in a way, to kind of understand what these things really are and were before jumping into anything. I think it's a good time. It will be, for Aquarius, it's not very easy to kind of relax into anything in their downtime or isolated time. But I think if the kind of like the opportunities will be presented to you to have that, maybe you need to work on it a little bit more with it being in Capricorn in the 12th house with everything that's going on. You will have some opportunities to have those leisure times in the 12th house, kind of relaxation spaces. Now, what's another thing I wrote here is some relationships behind the scenes, some deal making even behind the scenes can happen. Now, you might need to work on it a little bit more. It will happen behind the scenes, business or pleasure. So there probably will be some opportunities there between the sheets for you there, and business opportunities to make some deals behind the scenes. What did I also want to say? Because Pluto is there, I think you also have a chance or an opportunity to kind of release something from your subconsciousness that can be to do with relationships, or maybe even stopping you from being in relationships more fully. Let's put it that way. Something in your subconscious patterns that can be released now during this retrograde period.
I've actually written here for Aquarius Rising. Venus retrograde in your 12th house actually highlights your spiritual zone. It also highlights karmic and soul group links as well. So if there is someone that you dislike or don't get along, but who is persistently in your life, this may be why. There's like a karmic or soul group contract going on with you and that person. Make an effort to move past dislike and to discover the real soul underneath. So with that, you also need to like just be easy on yourself for that matter. 12th house is also about going deep for that matter. So Venus camping out on that part or that sector of your chart that rules the subconscious, making it the perfect time to do some shadow work. 12th house is about shadow work when it comes to matters of the heart, particularly if you've got probably with Aquarius Rising is acknowledging that you've got some relationship past life karma that you need to work out, the kinks. And this Venus retrograde can really come in for you too. I've seen 12th house Venus retrograde when it happens, people actually go for soul retrieval sessions that may actually help to unknot a lot of those, some can be past life traumas, for example. And past relationships will also be examined. And you may want to take a mental note of any relationship patterns you become aware of over this period of time. Although it may be painful to take an emotional stroll down memory lane, it will actually help you to develop healthier habits for the future. And Venus rules your natal for Aquarius Rising, Venus will actually rule your
9th and 4th.
house, 9th and 4th. So it also has to do with like familial belief systems. Maybe your relationship screw-ups in the past, or even up to this point, are due to like inherited belief systems from the family unit that you grew up in your early years. Maybe you believe that, you know, I will never be happy because the only way for me to be happy is to marry rich. For example, you know, that's what you tie in with your self-worth. And then that's linked back to your with whatever that a parent has told you, like you are worth nothing and the only way that you can live a comfortable life is to marry rich. Though because I got someone who's an Aquarius rising, and once Venus entered Capricorn recently, she did go for a soul retrieval session with a hypnotherapist, which is also 12th house theme. And that can really bring up certain stuff right to the surface for her to release certain trauma surrounding not feeling good enough. And the only way to feel good enough, according to the mom, which is for her, the 4th house issues, her mom actually believed that, you know, the only way for her out of whatever social class, which is Aquarius, by the way, she's Aquarius rising. So Aquarius rules social class, for her is to marry rich. Yeah. So because 9th house is in a sign of Libra, to marry. You marry high up, your social status elevate, and this is your way out. Yeah, but also, 4th house is home, 9th house is foreign. So for people who want to buy, and 12th house is places far away from here. So probably for some of you Aquarius rising, you're planning to buy property that's far away from where you are, overseas. And over this Venus retrograde period, just hold on, because you may change your mind after that. You may want to buy another overseas property when this is all over. And lastly, for Aquarius rising, because Venus is retrograding in their 12th house in the sign of Capricorn, they always dream about being somebody. They are secretly concerned with social status and reputation.
Mm-hmm.
They secretly want a successful business.
Totally.
So with all those things coming into play, maybe some of you are sussing out or like sniffing out a place for you to do a business that is based overseas. And you may actually meet someone in your homeland, 4th house, that may connect you to connections further out overseas, internationally, for that matter. So I would say a pretty okay time, I would say. Not the worst, not the best. But how about Pisces rising?
Pisces, oh my God, we're what a marathon. Okay, let's do our best to give the Pisces as good of a reading as possible here. I think for Pisces, let's start with relationship, because for you it's happening in the 11th house and all about friends, you know, the social groups you're interacting with. So there's going to be a lot of reevaluating of these relationships, and then reevaluating, why am I friends even with these people, and even like power dynamics, like what does this mean? They said this, you know, what does this mean? But you know, I do urge you to kind of like talk about it and be practical about it with the friends, and understand that these kind of misunderstandings can come in these friendship relationships, and one says one thing and this can be, you know, because Pluto is there in the mix as well, it can be almost like twisted to mean something deeper, something about more power, something who's in control, you know. So urge you to take it slowly, practically, with these relationships, with these friendships, with these groups. Remember, these are groups of people that you're interacting with as well. And you know, sometimes some need to leave, some need to stay. This is a time to kind of do that work in that house with these people. Now, on a material practical note, we're hitting on a couple of things in the 11th house as well with this retrograde. I think when you're coming in now with the shadow period, a lot of you will get some type of bonus, some sort of increase in bonus, or maybe your projects get into a place where there's some results coming your way. But you know, during the retrograde, still some frugalness, you know, might be good. let's put it that way. You know, I wouldn't go insane with that bonus if it comes your way and just like blow it. You know, it's not, luckily it's happening anyway in Capricorn, so it's not the biggest danger. But an important part here with this 11th house, because it's the salary that you're actually getting. Maybe during this period, a lot of you will also be reevaluating, like, am I getting paid enough? Or, you know, worst case scenario, maybe some cutbacks here and there in a company you're working with for. And now you need to, okay, so where can I increase my salary? What can I do to increase my income or increase my bonuses? Or you're working during the retrograde, you're working towards a big project, and after the retrograde you will start to get, you know, the bonuses. into your actual account as well. So it is a pretty material house, pretty material sign for you guys. A lot to do with working towards your goals and afterwards getting, and even I would say like there will be some reevaluating of those goals, where you're headed in general as well, like changing something with a project to make it even more profitable as well. I think that's it for me about Pisces.
Venus retrograde for Pisces rising in your natal 11th house. That's the friendship zone. And this highlights power imbalances in your social life. And it may be time to move on from friendships that no longer serve you. Release those people with kindness and blessings and focus on finding more like-minded souls to associate with. And if you're single, you may start to look at people within your circle as potential mates. And you could even find yourself in a friends with benefits situation.
Oh, yeah.
So just make sure that you're not compromising platonic relationships that are important to you, because especially such retrogrades don't always bring out our best judgments, to be honest. And if you are currently in a relationship, this is a good time to bring your bae or your baby and your buddies closer. So plan some group activities that will help to help them get to know each other much better. So because Neptune is transiting for Pisces rising in their first house, and this retrograde is in their 11th house, I wonder if for those who are already in friends with benefits kind of arrangement or relationships, that something a bubble will be burst.
Yeah, things will, most likely come to play that you weren't aware of there.
Maybe one is a sugar daddy for another, and then the dynamics just change over this Venus retrograde. Yeah, I mean, it can happen, right? Because
of course.
Yeah, because Pluto is there in the mix with Venus, so it's like I can buy myself some sugar using my money, but then that friend with benefits just, decided to do something funny behind my back, Pisces, or like say something or spread some lies that's not true about me, and my reputation is at stake. And so like that can be one of the manifestation. And 11th house is also a networking house. So I wonder if, particularly in an organization or a group, 11th house is really groupthink, the energy of groupthink. So in Capricorn, maybe you're working in a corporate environment and you're thought to just think from what the organization upper class actually tells you. And over this Venus retrograde, you find that, hey, all this policy inside the company is BS.
Mm-hmm.
And you may feel that, like maybe it's time for me to look for someplace else. Or maybe it's time to start my own business for some. Why do I say that? Because Venus rules for Pisces rising their 3rd and 8th house. 3rd and 8th house usually tells me that maybe they're better off as entrepreneurs also. Because 3rd and 8th house energy, 3rd house is 8 houses away from the 8th. And yeah, I think that's about it because of house rulership and derivative houses. So maybe some of you may be so sick of working in a large organization, you may quit your job as well. Also, it's about one thing about Pisces rising, right? 11th house for me also talks about trends. It also talks about currents in the atmosphere. They're usually very intuitive. Naturally, Pisces rising, and then Venus retrograde over there in their 11th house, they can honestly suss out, probably even before any corporate announcement of what whatever so-called bad news coming. Maybe they're laying off people and you are like in the inner circle of those who know those news first, and you can make certain decisions for yourself over this retrograde period. And when it's station direct, they may be the first to jump ship because they got the insider information. There's something regarding the 11th house and Capricorn energy, and also Pluto, of course. So do you have anything more to add for Pisces?
No.
So this is a very long video, although it's not 3 hours. By the way, on 8th of January of 2022, we've got a new Capricorn Venus star point. This is where Sun and Venus kiss together. At close to 19 degrees of Capricorn, I will have a special guest with me to do a collaboration video on that topic. So don't miss out. So do you have any parting words for this Venus retrograde as an outro?
Let me think for a second, just a second, guys. I mean, things aren't going to be like super easy. I would say there are things happening in our skies right now. We've been kind of rehashing and saying things. 2022 is maybe quite a difficult year in general. We start this off with a Venus retrograde that offers a lot of opportunity for growth, actually. And I think this is where we are as a society, as human beings. We need to do as much as we can for our own personal growth, to release as many things that are no longer serving us, to then help as many people as possible as well. Keep it simple with Capricorn. Take your time with Capricorn as well, and
be real with yourself.
Be real with yourself and others.
Be so real with yourself
and others if possible. And use this time to go deeper as well. There are opportunities to go deeper from a material perspective, to go deeper from an internal perspective. Use these opportunities that this time will give you work, and don't shy away from responsibilities with these matters that we kind of hashed, and take them head on, and then day by day things will start to,
I think it's all about the maturing process, right?
Maturing is a good word.
Come to be an adult, right? I can't be always forever 21. I can be always forever 41 though.
Let's mature let's mature together as a species, guys, and take ourselves.
And with that,
forward.
Certain choices will need to be made for us to grow up. So maybe tough, but hey, we need to evolve, right?
We need to
become CEO of our own destiny, which is Capricorn.
Become the master of your and CEO of your destiny.
So this is our parting word. So we end on a good note at least. So so drop your comments down below. Let us know how we did. We would love to hear from you.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.